Hi, I'm Ian, and this is a technical introduction to field recording. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about recording the sound of the wind. The sound of the wind can be beautiful and powerfully evocative, so it's a great potential subject for field recording, but it can also be fiendishly difficult to capture in a way that sounds good. A really naive approach would be to just turn your microphone into the wind, but as you can hear, that doesn't work too well. What we get is wind noise, the sound of the wind battering the diaphragm of the mic. A good windshield will help, of course, but in a strong wind, even the best fur windshield will be overwhelmed. The other basic problem is that the wind itself doesn't actually make any noise. The sound you hear comes from the wind interacting with stuff. If it's interacting with your mic or windshield, that's bad. The sound you get will be this horrible wind noise. So the trick is to protect your mics from the direct force of the wind while catching the sound of the wind interacting with something interesting. There are many ways you can do this, each of which will produce a different effect, so you need to find a technique that produces the sound you like. And that means getting out and experimenting as much as you can. Here I'm going to show you a few of the techniques I've tried and what they sound like. One thing you can try is to find a place for the mic where it's sheltered from the wind but still captures the sound you want. Here out in the open I'm capturing the sound of this wind turbine, but as you can hear the mic is fairly getting battered by the wind. Here I've moved the mic into the shelter of this small building, so it's protected from the blasting of the wind, but I can still hear the sound of the wind turbine blades swooshing. Of course, in a light breeze, the mic's own windshield might be enough to protect it, but in a stronger wind like this, the sound of the wind turbine is much more dramatic. Keeping with the idea of sheltering the mics, an easy way to do that is in trees. Here I'm down in the woods and so sheltered that there's not much breeze, but the treetops above me are really rustling. A simple windshield keeps the remaining wind off the mics and lets me record the sound of what's going on above with no problem. You can apply the same idea on a smaller scale. This tree is covered with leaves, but quite hollow inside, so I can place my mics up among the branches and record the sound of the wind in the leaves from close up. Going to an even smaller scale, you can place a pair of miniature mics down in the roots of tall grass to shelter them from the wind, while still capturing the sound of the wind in the grass. Here in the Highlands, heather works just as well, maybe even better. Contact mics are a fantastic tool for capturing the sound of the wind inside solid objects. These sounds can come from a range of sources, but the wind is a great one. One classic technique, which can work really well, is to place contact mics on a wire fence in a strong wind. This can capture a surprisingly satisfying wind sound as the fence acts like a microphone and picks up the sound of the wind whistling through it. The fence will also add its own metallic notes, which adds character. The nature of the fence can also make a big difference here. A new tight wire fence will sound fairly neutral, whereas an old rusty dilapidated fence will have lots of interesting things to say. All kinds of subjects can work well for this. Even these huge steel gates, which seem really solid, can resonate beautifully in a strong wind. So that's a small selection of techniques that you could try to capture the sound of the wind, but there's no limit to the kinds of things you could do here. Contact mics on a suspension bridge, microphones up in the treetops. The possibilities are endless. But I hope this video has at least given you some inspiration to get started.